So for someone who's starting and they really want to start, would you advise them to go on a cycle of using steroids? Does the dick shrink over time? Also, how do I train for mass if I want to transition into bodybuilding? How do I split my days of training?
Body needs some kind of nutrient and vitamins, to function and all that.
Relationship with bodybuilders and breast milk.
Breast milk.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that's like the cheapest source of protein you can.
Hello, welcome to Life Under Balance of Fitness. My name is Ishak. I'm the host of this channel. And if you are new, this is a channel where we give you information that will help you make it in your fitness journey. So be sure to share, subscribe, and like with your friends. In today's episode, I'm here with Tayo, who has had an experience of 17 years in bodybuilding, and he will explain the concept of bodybuilding. So who is Tayo?
I'd like to start from where I'm from. I'm Nigerian. Right from a very young age, Tayo has been into anything sport.
Sports.
Yeah. So the whole gym stuff came later, right? Of course, but at least I can say Tayo has been into sport for a long time.
So you spoke of you being from Nigeria.
Yeah.
How? Because I understand bodybuilding is not very popular in Nigeria. How did you get into the sport?
I would say this started in something around 2009.
Okay.
I had this, all these old brothers, jacked.
Okay.
When I mean jacked, I mean people that they probably not even been able to see all this fancy equipment.
Absolute units.
Yeah, they were units, bro. I had brothers like bro Fatai, who all these guys, they actually laid the foundation, because when you were a kid, you get to look around you for influence. So let me say environmental influence is very big in the life of a kid.
Yeah.
So getting into fitness was as a result of the people around me. So it's really played a very large role in me even want to doing bodybuilding. But at first it was just for fun, of course. I had no idea there was something called bodybuilding in the beginning.
So how did you get the idea? Where did it all start from?
Yeah, I would say it started from the university. So when I finished secondary school, I was still running track. I represented my state in several competitions. I was very fast at that point. But bodybuilding came when I got to the university, and I got to see, people from different places, people that are more enlightened than you. At least in that particular area. So these guys, I go to the gym, the school gym, because I get to use it for free, being a part of track for school.
Facility.
Yeah, so I get to use the facility for free. So when I got to the gym, then I was got monsters everywhere, bro.
Yeah.
Then that was when I started hearing, oh, yes, this bodybuilding. Okay, so what is bodybuilding? Then, we got to opportunity to follow elites like Ulysses. These guys have been OGs in OGs, man. So followed Ulysses. Simeon Panda I followed later, but Ulysses was the first person that I followed, and and this was around 2011. That was a very long time ago on Facebook then.
So being a young boy in Nigeria, what challenges did you face?
Of course, my mom at some point then, she bowed to naysayers and say, oh, it's for no future ambitions, to be lifting weight, stuff like that. But she mentioned it, but they'll be like, bro, what are you doing in NFL? But still, it wasn't much of an obstacle,
So did there any concerns come to your family and friends as to why you started bodybuilding?
As far as my dad is concerned, as long as you do your primary assignment, which in school then was, doing well in your academics, and that's the thing. I got to do well in academics, so I get to do bodybuilding too.
So you have been doing bodybuilding for over 17 years.
Yes.
Has it affected your image and relationships?
Yeah, in the beginning, before everything became mainstream, Like everybody, is on Instagram now. Everybody
has
into
account,
fitness, and all this stuff. In the beginning, I would say it does. Then in Nigeria, I don't know, maybe it's like that in Uganda, but then if you work out a lot, you are jacked. Everybody in the street, even in the school environment, some people, when you're getting too jacked, they look at you as a no future ambition, because they feel like for you to be able to dedicate as much time to that, that means they'll be like, they want to be a bouncer. Like, do you understand? Yeah. So the whole ideology behind you lifting in Nigeria, even as of now, even though it's mainstream now, there are still some part of the country where there is no more civilization. I will not say civilization when people are not really like enlightened. Yes, so they are still that backward, and they'll be like, that guy is a bouncer. Do you think everybody that lifts weights is a bouncer? That's something too. Yeah.
So for someone who has considered bodybuilding as a sport, how can they transition and start their journey?
Who wants to like start new, right?
Yes, a beginner from scratch.
Okay, so like I said, it took me 17 years to get to where I am now, right? But it doesn't have to be like that for a new person nowadays anymore. The reason for that is simple. There's a lot of information online now. I would say it's a very simple thing to do. Like, just start small. Most people want to rush nowadays, and rushing is going to make them make some bad decisions, like stepping into realms they're not supposed to step into.
They're not yet ready for that.
Yeah. So as long as you are able to like get your mind ready for it, you start small. Focus on being consistent with the workout first. You get more serious by focusing on your diet. But in the beginning, just work out and see how consistent you can be. That's what I'll say. Just
for more clarity for someone who's beginning, by workout you mean how should their workout programming and presentation, how many hours should they train? Do they have rest days in between? Like, how should it be if they really want to transition to being a real bodybuilder?
Well, when we say real bodybuilder, I feel like that's kind of a reach.
I mean, by the sport.
yeah. But it's kind of a reach. Why I call it reaching is that I would not say there is a real bodybuilder as such, right? If you mean people that compete, fine, right? But if it is bodybuilding itself, most people get overwhelmed with too much information. They be like, oh, you see C-Bomb, somebody like Chris Bumstead, and you be like, oh, this is too much. I don't think I can reach it. That's because you are reaching. I would say take it one step at a time. See what you can do. Forget about what other people have been able to do, but see what you can do. When you focus on yourself, right, you see that progress will come either way, right? 6 months doing something, 6 months doing nothing is still the same 6 months.
I understand.
Right? So
you can't really do the same thing and hope for a different result.
Exactly. So I would just say in the end, it's all about people just doing what they can. Yeah.
So just to put on some more clarity for the viewer out there, you said they shouldn't really mind more on the diet and nutrition, but how many calories in summation should someone be having if they are to transition on bulking up?
Okay. So for example, when we're talking about calories now, right? I would say I don't want to overcomplicate it, right? But at least 55 to 60% of that a person's daily meal should be carbs, right? So we need to first of all understand what BMR is, your basic metabolic rate. So when you know what your BMR is, you get to know your maintenance calorie. So of course, when you intend to like bulk up, you need to be on a surplus, right? So when you know your BMR, right, you're able to calculate your daily maintenance calories. Then you add a particular amount of calories to that.
I'll just cut it right short. For someone who is not familiar what a BMR is, it's a basal metabolic rate. The amount of calories you had burns even if it's at rest. So these numbers vary depending on the activity level, your level of metabolism, and even your own muscle mass. Please go ahead.
Yeah. So also, to not overcomplicate it, like I mentioned earlier, just imagine you used to eat like 3 meals a day. Just add more meals to it. That's one way of doing it without overcomplicating stuff. I mean, not everybody is going to like be able to do that for that mathematics of VMR. I mean,
because they're coming from Africa, we don't really have enough resources to
do
the numbers.
And I mean, even people that are not Africans, it's not everybody that like have that knowledge, enough to like calculate BMR just because. Right?
Yeah.
But I would say one way of doing it too, if you don't want to stress yourself, is to just get a coach, or a PT, somebody to like be in charge of all those things for you. So you just focus on you doing what they ask you to do, and you don't need to like bother yourself with the whole mathematics. But in short, if you don't want to bother yourself with that, I would say somebody that is just starting out should eat more than they used to. Just to get those more calories in, since they are more active than they used to be too.
So as per you right now, what is your diet like?
Depending on if it's off season or on season, but let me use off season for example. I'll eat about 150 grams of oat with about 100 grams of any berry. Mostly I use blueberries. Then about 40 grams of whey protein. And sometimes I fry eggs too, like 3 whole eggs, because you still need the fat too.
You
need about 15 to 20% of fat in your everyday meal. People often assume that you don't need fat, but no, you need fat too. So at least that's what my breakfast looks like for the most part. Then I'll eat like 4 or 5 times a day. Rice about 250 or 300 grams. Then chicken about 200 grams. Then I will add my veggies, usually broccoli. The easier the better. I want to like repeat the same thing. When you repeat the same food, your body is used to it. Your body knows how to process it. So it doesn't bloat you. It doesn't, and you don't get some weird reaction from nowhere. So that's one of the things about bodybuilding. Like the fact that you need to repeat the same thing, not because you can't eat other things, but when you repeat the same thing, it's just to make sure that you know how your body reacts to those things, and you are giving those things your body can handle.
Understood. So for someone who's starting and they really want to start, would you advise them to go on a cycle of using steroids?
Exactly. If you remember when I mentioned that nowadays people tend to like reach so much and they overwhelm themselves. Everybody wants to be like C-Bomb, I mean, you just started working out yesterday and you want to be like somebody that has been working out for more than a decade, and all those shit. I feel like steroid is an overrated part of this whole, bodybuilding thing. Of course, steroid works, right? But why will somebody that doesn't compete, that doesn't have any, you don't do that sport professionally, why will you want to like delve into a realm of things that are beyond you? For example, steroids have a lot of adverse effects. It has its gains, of course, but it has its adverse effects too. Most people don't even care about the adverse
disadvantages.
Yes, they just only like look like whoever it is they like look. And the funny part is like, even if they take the steroid, they will not look like that person. It's just impossible. There is something we call body structure, like your bone frame, your own body structure, right? For example, there is no amount of training you do that is going to make you resemble somebody like let me say Brian Shaw or something, right? Because that guy is a natural giant. You want to become a giant, by how many calories you want to eat in a day, how many drugs you intend to pop into your veins, right? So I would say to people that are just starting, please don't do drugs, right? It has a lot.
So tell us about the associated disadvantages.
Okay, so I think I should mention the cons too, right? The pros too.
No, start with the cons.
Okay,
the pros is the good part. Start with the pros.
Okay. So when it comes to cons of steroid, there is a lot to mention. You can have depending. Some of these things are metabolized by your kidney. So anything that metabolized by the kidney, and this means there is a lot of pressure on the kidney, right? So it can cause your renal failure. So definitely your kidney going out of function is one of those things.
It's a big disadvantage,
Not necessarily, but it's possible. So even if there is a 1% chance of that thing happening, that means it can happen.
Misuse.
Then we have liver functions too. Some of these things are metabolized by the liver instead of the kidney. So anything that is metabolized by the liver too means that it can put a lot of pressure on the liver, and then the liver can resign and say, I'm done.
I'm not doing this.
I'm not doing this shit anymore, right? So that's one thing. Then there is the whole issues of the mental part of it, right?
Okay.
You can be paranoid. You can have paranoia. You can have insomnia. Difficulty sleeping. Then there is the body itch. Then there is breakouts, acne breakouts. And I've heard a lot of people, that have a roid rage. Roid rage is, I would say, what rage is, of course.
Yeah,
rage is this
unnecessary anger.
Anger, yes, thank you.
For.
So then imagine somebody that is naturally hot-tempered being on something that can add to, then you can imagine this person committing some kind of crime, right?
It's understandable, because if you're on a cycle, there's a high chance of hormonal imbalances.
Of course,
so
thank you for mentioning
something mental, and
that is one of the issues I failed to mention. Hormonal imbalance.
Yeah.
Hormonal imbalance by itself is a very big problem. I mean, imagine somebody like having hormonal imbalance. What does that mean? It means your testosterone might be lower than it's supposed to be.
Usually. Yeah.
It can shut down. You might have infertility issues. You can even have libido issues. And hormones control a lot of things in the body. So if that is like shutting down, then a lot of things can go wrong. Yeah.
And does it have any disadvantages to the heart or any
yes
of the body?
yes of course. It can cause blood clots. So the veins carry for example, the renal artery carries blood to the heart, right?
Yeah.
So if there is any clot in your body, then that means the artery can carry it back to your heart, causing your heart to
have a blockage.
Yes, to have a blockage, it can kill a person instantly.
Possible heart attack and other.
And also a blood clot can actually, the lymph node when blocked can actually explode, which can actually cause hemorrhage in the body. Blood hemorrhage means your blood is bleeding from the inside, right? So the person can actually have a blood hemorrhage too. So a lot of issues, and a lot of people developing some brittle bones, right? Like joint and ligament issues while on steroid. And also another part of it that most people don't know is that it can actually cause reclining hairline. Right? Tell
us more about that.
So reclining hairline is this when people that have a male pattern baldness, they have a possibility of getting that. So when they are on steroid, that means this can hasten it up. So somebody that is supposed to go bad at like maybe 45 or 50, they can go bad in their late 20s.
Yeah, because the cycle slows down and
and it also the keratin stuff when it causes abnormal keratin level in the body, which means the nails can overgrow and all those stuff, and also it can actually affect your dental health, since keratin is a big part of that. It's a big
part of the system. So we talked about all the disadvantages, and apart from, let's say, being famous, going to the stage, tell us more of the associated advantages to using the steroids.
You can see steroid as something that will take you beyond the realms of whatever, especially for people that are like hardworking,
Okay.
I mean, I've had the opportunity to work out with Larry,
Yes.
I've worked out with people that are like pound for pound, they are like gorillas, right? For people like that, and the work ethic is mad, right? For people like that, when they take stuffs like this, I mean, they leave the realms of we mortals, generally.
It's different,
so I would say it gives superhuman advantages like, super recovery. Even despite the fact that you've been working out for a long time, if you go hard, if you do some kind of legs day or whatever, and you go harder than you used to, you're going to feel some intensity, pain, right? The DOMS,
It's very rewarding, actually.
But when steroid is involved, the DOM is like less than a quarter.
Okay.
The person might not even feel shit, and they might, only feel like that for a few hours and no DOMS.
So what you're trying to say is it speeds up the recovery process.
It speeds up recovery a lot because it helps generate new cells faster. You know, and the process of hypertrophy is generating new cells. Of course, you know this. So when
for the
people
who's there.
for the viewers who doesn't know, it helps recovery by generating, you know, help faster cell generation or regeneration during hypertrophy. So another thing again, apart from the recovery, is the fact that it helps protein synthesis.
Okay.
Right. So usually protein synthesis is something that takes, you know, a long period of time. So that means somebody getting big and huge and jacked is something that is supposed to take a longer period of time. You know, you keep breaking down and rebuilding these muscles as much as possible. But for people on steroids, you see that protein synthesis is heightened to the godly level, right? So people like this tend to like grow big fast and get muscles really fast.
So for someone who's starting out, would you advise an absolute cycle that they can follow?
The only cycle I would advise somebody
no, someone who's
out,
transitioning to bodybuilding, we're assuming this person has been training for a minute and they would like to transition to having their first cycle. What would you think their cycle should have?
I would say the only cycle they should have is getting their ass up from the bench and going to the gym and coming back the next day. Honestly, see, I think I forgot to mention one thing, right?
Okay.
Steroid causes absolute weakness of the muscle groups. So when people are on steroid, I promise you, there is more tendency to get injured
than if you are on
than normal people. Yes.
Why is
let me okay, like we said, right, there's a lot of new cells being grown in the body during hypertrophy, right? Now you can imagine your body, right? If you are natural, if you are not taking anything, well, like we said, it takes a long period of time to build muscles, right? So this means you break it, you rebuild it, break it, rebuild it. Your bodies tend to be very strong, extraordinarily strong, like next level stronger. But with steroid, you build new cells too fast, and these cells are too young. They are too weak. You know, like they are not the muscle fibers. You know, like that are built when you're on steroid. They are still very young compared to your normal body that before the steroid. So this means that these fibers can break faster than old fibers, and also it causes brittleness in the bone, which means the bones can break. People can develop something like osteoporosis while on
you spoke about something of training, like when you're training you're on a different level. So how do I train for mass if I want to transition into bodybuilding?
So the number one thing to look out for is the nutrition. Right? So if your nutrition is on point, really, like your training is going to be next level. What do I mean? The body uses glycogen during workout. The carbohydrate itself, like I said, 55 to 60% of carbs per meal. The carbohydrate itself does not build muscles, but it fuels the body for intense exercises. So that means with the more glycogen you have in your body, the more you're able to perform in physical activities. So when you take note of all these things, like okay, you eat the amount of carbs you're supposed to eat. You eat about 1.6 to 2.2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight, every day. You eat about 0.5 to 1.5.
Write it down. Say it again.
So for protein, about 1.6 to 2.2 gram per kilogram of body weight. So I mean, somebody that is weighing 70 kg is going to need about, depending, like let's say 70 multiplied by 1.8, in between is 1.6 to 2.2. So they're going to need about 70 times 2, about 140 daily. So when all these things are like on point, right, your workout is on point. The most important part of it is putting the 100% in everything. To be honest, you are not deceiving yourself. You go to the gym, you put your absolute best. You put your best leg forward, right? You get back home, you eat the way you're supposed to eat. Then, like, progress is compulsory. It's not let me say it's not negotiable. Then it's not negotiable.
So you spoke something more about training. How do I split my days of training?
So when it comes to a beginner, I will always advise that there's a lot of rest in between. Why? Don't forget, the dumps is not something they are used to yet.
Yeah.
So imagine somebody doing like a beginner doing legs like 3 times a week. You know, that's setting themselves up for failure, right? Because the body cannot even like endure that kind of beating on the norms. But what I would say is this: for me, I would expect a beginner to do maybe something like the bro split, right?
Okay.
The bro split is as simple or as begin as possible. You do your chest and biceps, right? Chest and triceps, back and biceps, then legs.
Also on alternating days.
Yes, alternating days.
Okay.
Do 1 day on, 1 day off, 1 day on, 1 day off.
And if I feel I have the will to do 5 to 6 times a week, how do I move that forward?
Yeah. After a while, you start getting used to a particular routine, and you feel like you can do more. Oh, I think I can do more. Okay, fine. But even though you can do more, I would not advise anyone to do more than 5 days a week. It's very simple. The body needs some kind of nutrient and vitamins, to function and all that. So when you work out every day, of course, we deplete most of these things, except you are supplementing something like maybe magnesium, you're supplementing something like creatine. Creatine is not only for strength, it actually helps oxidize your cells. So and hydrate too. So that's one thing we have to always think about. Are you supplementing? Are you not? If you are supplementing, and it makes life a little easier, right? Because when you supplement, you can introduce a lot of things into your body that can actually help your recovery, and also make sure that you are not depleting your natural resources without filling them up again.
So we see a lot of like bodybuilders on the stages, and over there's something that has come to my attention, and when I put this out, one of my clients asked, does the dick shrink over time?
No, I would say it's the surface area stuff. Okay. Let me explain. Look at this table. This thing in the middle of the table, it looks very small, right? Do you know why that is?
The point of view.
Not only that, the surface area. This table is very wide, right? So this thing is very small. This is the size of it. It hasn't changed. Yeah. This is the size. But on this big table, it looks negligible, insignificant. Yeah. But if we cut this table into 2, and we are talking about just half of this table, what happens? It looks bolder than it actually was on the bigger table surface area, right? So what that means is like when you are doing bodybuilding and you get bigger, the same thing that is supposed to look big on a tiny you, that thing was not meant for the muscled up big you.
Mass you've added on.
Yes, it's meant for you being tiny and normal, being an average person.
So do you understand? The mass down there doesn't change regardless.
Nah, it doesn't. The body changed. So the body in contrast to that, it's like it's just like you putting something of the same size on it, very different. This thing now, when I compared it to this table, it's still it's still big enough, but if I put it right in the middle of this gym, right, then it becomes even more insignificant. Why is that? Because the gym is very big.
Yeah, understand.
Do you understand now? Yeah. So somebody that is tinier, that is skinnier, is definitely going to look like that thing is bigger. Meanwhile, it's the same thing. But when that person gets bigger, of course, that thing that is supposed to be when he was tiny is going to look even smaller because of the surface area, right? So
understood.
Yeah.
So you
okay. Yeah, tell me.
No. We dropped that part. Another part is I wanted to ask about the relationship with bodybuilders and breast milk.
Breast milk.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's like the cheapest source of protein you can. I mean, if you are married, your wife is breastfeeding. I would say put your mouth and get that stuff.
So what is the relationship? Why there's so much fuss in the bodybuilding industry with the
breast milk?
Yeah.
I mean, look at how much protein is protein is expensive, right? For you to buy one tub of protein jar is probably going to cost you nothing less than 350 dirhams, right? But imagine you getting even more protein without any additives, right? Without any metal being mixed with it, without any unknown chemical or maybe growth hormone being added into it. The purest, sweetest form of protein at your disposal. What are you gonna do? You take it.
So it's easier to. How does it come into the diet? Do you have it with food?
Just like for example, there are ways when I would say it's the same way we introduce whey protein into bodybuilding diet. On the norms, like I said, there is whey protein in my breakfast, right? And there is also whey protein in my post-workout meal. So my post-workout meal is like my instant one, when I just finish from the gym, before I have my main post-workout meal. So that one has whey protein, then what is it called again? Maybe cream of rice or something mixed together. So it's the same thing. You can take it raw or just add this thing. But the main thing is just the fact that it's it doesn't have any addictive and it's pure protein. And where babies need a lot of growth hormone, so that's going to have a lot more than what you get on the market.
Understood. You've heard from the man, and if you're new to the channel, be sure to share, subscribe, and like with your friends. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I just can't get